Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Piranha Motorsports. This episode, we're going to try and get Mangdup back running again. Well, as you would have seen on the last episode that we had on Mangdup, we found a very average looking lifter. And that was the noise we'd found in our engine. And we've come up with what we're going to do with getting the car back together again. We toyed with the idea of just putting it on the back burner and building the new motor and getting back to Mangdup whenever we do, but to be honest, there's nothing wrong with this motor. It actually is perfect. So we're going to hit the cam back in with a hammer again.
Oh, that's snug.
Okay, you would have seen, time lapse. We've cleaned everything up, surfaces, both sides, inlet and sump, and cleaned timing cover, gasket area up as much as we can considering the gasket's still there and we're reusing it. Sump we cleaned up off camera, so I probably would have stopped the time lapse for a second. I didn't, but I will edit it while we cleaned the sump. And the gasket, yes, this gasket is cooked, but we don't have another one, and a bit of Celastic makes life much easier. So we're about to bolt the sump back on. We have a new lifter tray to replace the one that had the spun lifter in it. So we're going to put the sump back on. We're going to then hammer the cam back in, put the timing chains back on, flip it back over, and then get the rockers and everything back on, lifters back in, and get her all timed up, ready to drop back in the car. So, but the car is going to need a pressure clean drastically. It's got transmission oil and engine oil from arsehole to breakfast, and we can't leave it like that. So we'll get in there and give her a bit of a blast out before we drop the motor in. The greaser. We'll see. Alright, let's see what happens. Cool. Sump's on. The rear main seal plate is on. So now it's time for our bent camshaft and our stripped timing chain and gears. Yes, I'm not exaggerating there. They have absolutely been hammered over the years. So much so that the camshaft keyway falls out just So we have, I'll grab the cam and I will show you.
Get it out a bit.
Hang on. The second last one. On there. You can see second last lobe, so that one there. Just took the edges off of it. You can see it's been hammered, obviously.
Where it's spun.
But skid car life means we'll get a little bit more life out of it, considering.
Down a lift.
Yeah, considering it's not a street car. It's not doing stupid things. It's just a skid car. So we'll get it. We'll get it. One thing we forgot, the cam retaining plate bolt snapped off. Well, rounded off because they're absolutely shit Allen key stuff. So we've got to get that out. Hopefully that comes out pretty easy. Okay, for all of you that haven't seen it the first time, this time we're going to use a rubber mallet rather than the hammer. So check this shit out. Yep. So that is the 7th hour bend that is in the camshaft, and surprisingly hasn't actually ripped the shit out of the cam bearings. So yeah, there's a couple of lobes with a little extra lift in them. It's gone back in again. So hey, that's a bonus. It went in. At least it went in. So we'll we got the cam retaining bolt out. That was easy enough. We just put a little slid in it with the Dremel, and it just screwed out. So the other bolt is here, and in it goes. So that's the cam done. So timing chain's a bit of a pain in the ass with the double row timing chain roll mask. They're quite tight, so anyone that's done them before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They are quite tight to get on the Ecotex. So we have got the bottom cog out a little bit still, so you can try and squeeze underneath and slip it on. And here's what I was talking about, where the keyway just flops around in there and it's all busted up and everything. So this is still out a little bit, so we can slip the chain underneath and then get enough, and then you kind of like wiggle them on together. So okay, you would have seen on the time lapse sort of ish, but I can't do everything and hold everything at the same time. It's in, it's on. It's a bit of a juggling act to get it, but it's on. But this is what I'm talking about. Look at this. But I'm not going to go and spend money on this thing. Chain's been like that for probably 50 skids, so I'm going to leave it. It'll be fine for now. As you can see, like, this needs to go in. Like, this thing's got chunks out of it everywhere. It's absolutely hammered. Chain stretched, cams rooted. But it's literally been in every single engine that we've ever built. So, and we've blown up a lot. Not so much in Mangdup, but back in the day with the original Mangdup, and then I think we lunched about 3 or 4 motors in that, and then we lunched about 3 or 4 when it was all in the tonner, and then once again in this. It's been through hell, and yet it still lives on, and we punish it. We literally punish the shit out of it. So
we put that tensioner on this one.
Nah, I wouldn't worry about it. I don't think it'd change anything. So everything's looking pretty good. So we'll get this done and then put the timing cover back on. Cool. Well, timing cover's on, harmonics on, and our makeshift tie bar lifters are on. And if you don't know what I mean by that, go back to one of, I think might have been our first or second video on the channel ever. These are the standard lifter buckets, and Dad has made a little bracket that drills and taps into the end of each of the lifter buckets to hold the lifter buckets, because these things have a tendency of spinning lifters, especially at high RPM, and they bend. These ones in the middle are generally okay. It's not them that go, it tends to be these ones that tend to lift. And as per the reason why we've actually changed this lifter bucket and reset everything, because it wore the bucket out. But these actually stop the ends from lifting up at high RPMs. We actually found that these were bending and lifting, and the lifters were spinning. So check that out on one of our second or third videos, or first or second video, one of the two on the channel, where we explain what we did and why we did that, and we actually go through the rebuild of this engine. So yeah, we're pretty good. We're rocking and rolling. We just need to put some push rods and rockers on, set some clearances, put some rocker covers on, and it's just about ready to drop in. Righto, well, you've watched a whole heap of time lapse of us putting it together. Done a few videos along the way, but here we are. A couple of hours spent on the old girl this afternoon. The engine is ready to drop back in. So tomorrow morning, well, we couldn't do it this morning because we had to pick something up, and you know, we'll get to that one in another episode. But engine is now ready to drop in tomorrow morning. We just want to give the engine bay a good clean up, a bit of a pressure wash, and then we'll drop this old girl back in again, and we'll kick her in the guts hopefully tomorrow afternoon. But you'll see that tomorrow, or right about now. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's another day. Today is day. I'm going to put this old girl's motor back in again. As you've seen yesterday, we put it back together. So, a bit of a clean up. We've got to put flex plate back on with our bolts. So, clean it all up, put it back on again, spot a weld on all of them so they don't come off, and drop that thing in there. Let's get cracking. Okay, well, flex plates on, spotted, car's jacked in the air, enough to get the car in. We're just going to support the gearbox and get this girl in there. Let's do it. Well, that went rather easily, smoothly, probably the smoothest it's ever gone in, to be honest. We've got 3 belt housing bolts and engine mounts sitting in place, and bolts are even going in them. So that's a win. We shall keep plodding along with all the little extras, but so far so good. Okay, little bite for lunch. Back at it again. Motor's in. We're just going to chuck the starter motor on, and then this side extractor slides in. And then the car goes back on the ground, and we finish off all the stuff on top. So we are making very good progress. Okay, car's back on the deck. Everything underneath, done. Extractors are on, tight, all the exhaust is done, starter motor, torque converter, bell housing bolts, the whole works is all done. So now we are just on to top bits, and magically, it didn't work. The magic of the editor must suck. So we'll power on with the last few bits and pieces, and hopefully not far from now we'll be kicking her in the guts and seeing what she sounds like. Okay, everything seems to be buttoned up. So let's see if we can bring up some fuel pressure and see what happens, eh? Leak.
Yep. Fuel coming out the back bolt there. Ain't that coming out.
Is it flooding?
Don't think so.
Start again.
Just try that. See what's coming out of here. Coming out of that big nut.
Is it?
Yeah,
Right, what do we want to see if it is it pissing out or just weeping?
weeping.
Do we want to see if it can fire?
Yeah, and that's loose. Oh, the turn springs down in on a.
Cool.
Should be right now.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, Mangdup is back and running again. Not without more work to do, of course, because we short-changed to put the car back together again, and we reused a timing cover gasket, which is now leaking. So we'll have to order one of those and get one of them here, but that's just a bit of a couple of hours worth of work and it's back fixed again. So thanks very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed getting Mangdup back and on the fixed path again. So we're going to park Mangdup in the shed as a running, driving skid car, and we're going to get stuck into a 5 litre for a 12-second VS Ute and a new project car that it's not really a project car, but I'll explain when we do get to that video. Whether that's next or not, I'm not too sure. We'll find out as we go along. But thanks very much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, and all that sort of stuff. And we'll see you on the next episode of Piranha Motorsports.